Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back. Um, Today I want to continue talking about the way that I'm looking over the last 30 years of my life, doing a little bit of introspection, a little bit of stuff. And just before I jump into this one, just to clarify something, I have done all of this stuff beforehand with all my metrics, with all the things that I talk about in other videos, the addressing reality of a situation, looking at what's measurable and all that kind of thing. But some of that stuff is obviously personal information that I'm not going to be throwing out online because of the figures and values and things like that involved. But also, sometimes it pertains to other people, sometimes it deals with other things, and so I'm going to be kind of not going into those. And I feel like that's particularly relevant to this video, considering that I'm going to be talking about relationships, because I talk about relationships and communication and kind of how to deal with kind of romance, how to deal with people, work, all that kind of stuff, and just people in general on the channel. So as a result, I'd be somewhat remiss if I didn't talk about it at all. But also, it's a big part of my life. You know, friends, family, Hannah as my partner, and it's all a lot of stuff to kind of juggle and keep track of. And as a result, when it comes to me doing this every year and sitting down and having a look at where I've come from and where I want to go with things, you know, it's important for me to have this moment to sit down and keep track of all of it, because otherwise sometimes things get out of control. We've all had relationships that have gone poorly or that have been mishandled or whatever else, and sometimes it's not your fault. A good number of times it's probably a two-way thing, or possibly just one person having their own issues and drawing away. But when it comes to, especially considering Hannah and I are long distance, um, you know, making the time, keeping the communication up, making sure that we're invested in each other's lives, and so on and so forth. You know, taking note of things. It's all very important. So I kind of want to go through this with you guys now. So where have I come from in regards to relationships? Well, I used to be a very awkward kid. You know, it was a case of when I was in, as I've said in other videos this week, you know, when I was in kind of first moving into kind of secondary school in particular, and especially when I moved schools in secondary school, it was unsettling. It was a change that I wasn't necessarily sure how to handle, and I was very capable at kind of standing back and analysing people. But then when it actually came to engaging with them, I didn't have the confidence to do so. You know, it was something that it took time for me to understand about myself before I could then use what I was naturally capable of doing in terms of reading people, being empathic, being able to converse quite easily. You know, doing it with teachers and adults and things like that wasn't too bad. Doing it with other people that actually mattered to me was so much harder. Um, and you know, as a result, when it came to especially considering romance is a big part of relationships, when it came to those first moments of having crushes on people and wanting to ask people out and all that kind of thing, I was never particularly good at it back then, and it was always a bit of a hassle, a bit of a problem for me, simply because I knew what I wanted. And as a result of knowing what I wanted, it was a case of going, right, well, this person fills that gap. I was then really bad at trying to communicate that to people. And looking back on it now, it's laughable. But it's, you know, it would be those awkward moments where I would do something that to me seemed stupid. I was pretty certain it was stupid. I would be ridiculed for it. And yet it really, rather unsurprisingly, didn't do what I wanted it to do. But it was the only thing that I could think of. And so I did it. So I had the confidence to be stupid. I just didn't have the confidence to make the right decisions and just put myself out there as a person, which, you know, swings and roundabouts. You learn as you go on. Um, but then as a result, I had a couple of as I gained confidence, I was able to communicate better. In fact, I overshot on confidence so horribly, that I really became someone I didn't like very much. And it was a case of, I had this insight into people, and I had this knowledge that I could apply. And now that I felt really confident because I realised I had all of these things, and I had kind of grown out of the shyness that I had, it was a case of going, yeah, right, okay, well, I can just go and do this now. The world is my oyster. And rather unsurprisingly, after a time, that kind of bit me in the arse. But again, sometimes it's when it comes to working out a problem, working out how you want to develop or how you need to develop, shooting, undershooting and then overshooting, so that you find out where that middle ground is that you're aiming for. That can be really valuable. That little trial and error thing. Yeah, it's going to suck at the time, but as long as you can look back on it and go, I've learned something. All of this stuff worked out fine, and stuff like that. Then it's not a waste of time in doing it. But then you look at the situation. Then though, and because I threw myself into work, I got much better at dealing with people in the way that I liked myself for doing. Being friendly, being responsible, generating good relationships with people whilst not compromising myself. And as a result, kind of a lot of my work friendships grew, and a lot of my interactions with people became much more pleasant. But also as a result, some of my other more long-standing relationships with friends who I love dearly kind of broke down, because we were all busy people. But in many of the jobs that I've been in, I was busy at 5 a.m. in the morning or 2 a.m. at night. And so as a result, where they were working maybe more normal 9 to 5 kind of jobs, the times when I was free, be it early in the morning or late in the evening, depending on which kind of end of the day I was working at the time, it meant that I was possibly able to see them, but more often than not I wasn't, because they would go out on a night out, and I would either be in at work getting up at 3 a.m. or I'd be finishing work at midnight, anywhere between midnight and 2 a.m. And so as a result, I didn't get to see those people. And so where communication is something that's easier to do nowadays, it's still something that, where you're only seeing those people who mean so much to you, but everyone's so busy, everyone's doing their own thing, and you only really bump into them once every so often. Maintaining those relationships isn't necessarily hard, because there's the understanding of everyone being busy, everyone's got their own things going on, but it does mean that as you grow, as you get busier, especially in the modern world where everyone's in a rush all the time, you end up not having as much of a connection with those people as maybe would be healthy. And it's something that's been in the back of my head for a while. It's been in the back of my it's been on my lists of things that I want to improve with me, and that is kind of re-establishing better connections with those friends that I don't see that often. And with the amount of stuff I'm doing at the moment, all the opportunities I'm trying to take advantage of, all the ways that I'm trying to create new opportunities for myself, I'm still not really in a position to free up a huge amount of time to be able to see those people, nor free up a huge amount of money to maybe entertain them instead. But it's it's a tough kind of balancing act with those things, and it just comes down to trying my best at the moment. So I need to kind of forgive myself for now and do better when I can. In regards to romantic relationships, though, as said, I used to be terrible at it, and it used to be a real problem for me, either because I knew what I wanted and I wasn't forward enough, or I was too forward and was more willing to accept things that I didn't care so much about, because I was just kind of getting what I wanted, and as a result it bit me in the backside. but then I went through this period of just readjustment, taking time out. And during that time, I started being a coach. I was a relationship and dating coach as kind of a primary thing before I did anything else, because I was working with some other coaches on that. And so as a result, then kind of moving into looking at my own success in relationships and things, it became a case of I needed to relax and not worry so much about it. It needed to become part of my knowledge base that I could then just draw from if I really cared to, rather than anything else. And that was how I met Hannah, through common interest, and it has now grown into a relationship that I now can't think of my life without. It's a relationship that I want to develop and look forward to developing, even if it's going to be tough at times, even if it's going to be an awful lot of logistical juggling or the odd argument or something like that. It's something that I don't want to depart from at any time soon. And obviously I can't tell the future, but I would hope that that's going to be the way that this moves forward as Hannah goes into her next stage of life after university, and how I'm going to continue to develop with you guys on here, or with my coaching practice and all the other little bits and pieces that I'm doing. It's a big facet of all of those things that I'm actively trying to account for and work towards. To make more of a success, I need to generate more money. I need to do more things, have those opportunities that I mentioned a moment ago, develop into things that are workable and useful. I need to be as supportive and helpful as I can be to her, and she already does the same with me, hence coming on and recording stuff and having some fun and relaxing with me whilst we play games for you guys. It all adds up. And as much as there have been a good number of relationships that have meant an awful lot to me, and that I've kind of come away learning things, being changed by them and so on, this relationship is the one that I'm learning things and growing and developing and wanting to hold on to more whilst being in it. And I feel like that's what makes it different and special to me. And so, moving forward on that, where do I want to go? Looking forward to the future, the two big things are I want to maintain my current relationship with Hannah, obviously, but then on top of that, there are more places that we need to go with that, but that's kind of a juggling act between her life, my life, how far away we are, when and if we can actually get to being in the same place, doing the same thing at the same time, as it were. So that's kind of a more long-term plan, maybe the next 5 years, which is something I'm going to be talking about in the video tomorrow to wrap up this week. But then in regards to friends and things, I need, it's as said, still difficult. These are the things that make life worth living to an extent. Friends and things that you do with friends, love and relationships in general with all kinds of people are the things that add the most variety and the most differentiated experiences to life. And so as a result, it's a case of going that I need to invest in them. But there are also, especially in the modern day, I'm sure that there are loads of you guys that feel the same way. You go into the world of work, you try and forge your path, and do what you either want to do or do what you need to do to survive, or some mix of the two. And you end up basically with no one else around you. You end up with your work friends as your closest group of friends, just because you see them every day. And the friends that you actually care the most about, the friends that are further afield and all that kind of thing, they are the ones that drift away. And whenever you see them again, it may very well be warm and comfortable and like nothing has ever changed, but it's still a case of those people are further outside of your life than you would want them to be. And that sucks. But it is a juggling act, and so for me, with those people, especially if they're watching right now, I want to do more to catch up with those people, to see them more often and stuff. But obviously, as I said, it's a juggling act between work and money and all these kind of things. So it can be tough. So I think this area is the area where with the others it's very straightforward. You know, who am I? Well, I can analyze myself ad infinitum whenever I want. I just need to look in a mirror or sit down and have a think. When it comes to my career and the things that I'm doing with work and progressing in that way, and the opportunities that I'm trying to develop or that I have developed and I've taken advantage of and trying to make the most of those, you know, it becomes a case of going, right, so with this situation, there's a certain kind of limit to how much money I'm going to make, in which case can I maximize that? The number of leads that I'm going to get for coaching, the number of new people I'm going to talk to. Same with YouTube. You know, there are things that I need to do. Improve my sound quality was one that I brought up the other day with a better mic at some point, so that it doesn't have the issue of sometimes being quiet and sometimes being not. You know, I need to expand on that, and in theory, the better the quality, the more that I can improve things in my setup and work around stuff, the better the reception will be when actually uploaded online, and the more the channel will grow, which will then open more opportunities and more things as we go along. And you know, I'm very thankful to you guys, and arguably the relationship that I have with you guys, albeit very distant. You know, it's one that means a lot to me, which I kind of covered in yesterday's video, more so. But where all of those have metrics attached to them, things that are very easy to monitor, you know, the amount of money that's moving from one place to another, the number of subscribers and views and watch time on YouTube, you know, analysing myself in person is easy to do because I always have access to myself. But when it comes to relationships, it's the area that I need to kind of cut myself the most slack, just because it's not only dependent on me. And I can only control me. I can only control and do the things from my little sphere of influence. So if I wanted to go and see friends, and I was like, I have made all this time to go and see friends, that doesn't mean that they would be able to see me. And I would end up still being sat alone, just maybe sat alone in a coffee shop waiting to have coffee with someone who's never going to turn up, rather than here. You know, it's a slightly different situation, just because there's this dependence on working with other people, and there is a dependence with working on other people in regards to the other areas as well. You know, I need to depend on you guys in regards to whether or not you're watching stuff. I need to depend on YouTube in regards to how they're managing themselves, how they're managing the platform as a whole, and all that kind of thing. And then, you know, in regards to business, as I was saying the other day, one of the hardest things is when I'll do everything that I can to take advantage of a situation to its fullest. You know, I will put lists together, I'll put info packs together, I'll send them out to organisations that I'm working with and things like that, and yet then when they go, oh, well, there are only 2 people in our office and we've got to collate all this information for so many people, and it's like, well, sure, but I've done all of this stuff for you and thrown it your way. Where's you throwing stuff back? You know, where are the leads, or where are the other elements that you can throw my way that I originally kind of started dealing with you for? You know, where are they? And so me relying on them is a thing that then I still, you know, I chase them up and I fight with them over it, but it's a struggle, you know. But when it actually comes to relationships, they're the things that aren't as important as maybe they should be, because we just don't have the time for them, and survival comes first. But then also, you know, when it comes to depending on other people, if you don't have access to someone, then you can't do what you want to do, and it's trying to find those places when people's lives match up. You know, I've talked about running a tabletop game, like a D&D game or something like that, probably Numenera, on the channel at some point in kind of long form, and you know, it's one of those things that I would like to do, but at the same time finding the right people, having our schedules all match up, having the time to sit down and do all of that stuff when at the moment I'm kind of swamped and rolling with things. It's a tough thing to try and manage. But anyway, that's kind of where I think I am with this part of my life, and to me it's a very important part of my life, especially considering that at one point it was possibly the most difficult part of life for me. And so I feel like the most significant strides that I've made across any area are probably in this one, going from being the quiet, shy, awkward kid that was bullied and mocked and all that kind of thing, and kind of moving forward into a place where that's no longer the situation, where I'm no longer that person anymore. And it's one of the things that when I actually think about coaching and the changes that I made in myself before I was even fully aware of all of the ins and outs of the psychological elements and the other coaching elements that I take advantage of for clients and apply with them to their lives. It's like if I had someone like myself to coach me at the time, the amount of headway, the amount of hardship I would have avoided, and all those kind of things would have been so much more substantial and beneficial to me, I think. Which is why I'm now, I want to throw this information out, and I want to do things with people, as many people as I can, to kind of help them in the same way that I feel I could have helped myself. But anyway, guys, as said, I would love to hear your experiences, your thoughts on how your relationships are, whether or not you want to develop them, or whether there are other things around them. Because again, all of the questions and things that you leave, all the experiences that you're willing to share, not only does it potentially allow me ideas and things that I can either talk about to you guys in the future if there are many people asking this similar kind of questions, or if there are other situations and other things going on where it's just something that I can learn from, that can change my thinking and add to my thinking. And also, it's not just me. You've got everyone else that can see that comment section, potentially learning from or feeling validated by, or whatever it is that you've said. It's a great way of kind of doing things, I feel. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.